previous verse, Dharmam Bhagavatam, real religious principles, or Bhagavata Dharma, the principles described in Srimad Bhagavatam itself or in the Bhagavad Gita, the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam. What are these principles? The Bhagavatam says, Dharma Projahita Kaitavotra. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1-2. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are no cheating religious systems. Everything in the Bhagavatam is directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam further says, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiradokshajay. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-6. The supreme religion is that which teaches its followers how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the reach of experimental knowledge. Such a religious system begins with Tannama Grahana, chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5-23. After chanting the holy name of the Lord and dancing in ecstasy, one gradually sees the form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, and the transcendental qualities of the Lord. This way, one fully understands the situation of the personality of Godhead. One can come to this understanding of the Lord, how He descends into the material world, how He takes His birth and activities He performs, but one can know this only by executing devotional service. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati, Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Simply by devotional service, one can understand everything about the Supreme Lord. If one fortunately understands the Supreme Lord in this way, the result is Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti, Bhagavad Gita 4.9. After giving up his material body, he no longer has to take birth in this material world. Instead, he returns home, back to Godhead. That is the ultimate perfection. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 8.15, Mamupetya punarjanma dukkalayam asashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanaha samsiddhim paramam gataha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. I'll quickly read verse 23 as well, because it's connected and it's a short verse. Namocharana Mahatmyam Hare Pashyata Putrakaha Ajamilopi Yenaiva Mrityupashadamuchyata. My dear servants, who are as good as my sons, just see how glorious is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The greatly sinful Ajamila chanted only to call his son, not knowing that he was chanting the Lord's holy name. Nevertheless, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, he remembered Narayana, and thus he was immediately saved from the ropes of death. Purport. There is no need to conduct research into the significance of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The history of Ajamila is a sufficient proof of the power of the Lord's holy name and the exalted position of a person who chants the holy name incessantly. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, Harir Nama, Harir Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva Gatiranyata. Adi Lila 17.21. In this age of Kali, no one can perform all the ritualistic ceremonies for becoming liberated. That is extremely difficult. Therefore, all the Shastras and all the Acharyas have recommended that in this age one chant the holy name. That's the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ma Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavad Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktaranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Devotional service beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. So we see here who's talking here in this verse. Anybody remembers? Yamaraj is talking to the Yamadutas. Right? This is the conversation after the Ajamila is saved by the Vishnudutas. The Yamadutas are going and talking to their master and saying, what is this? We have never been stopped in our duty before. And what is this new experience that we have been having? And how do we deal with this? And we see here, Yamaraj is explaining what is this most powerful process. This is a very interesting point comes up from this. The process is very simple. Right? Just chant Hare Krishna. But we see that many devotees face quite a bit of challenges in following this simple process. Right? I was reading, I just completed that Harishwari's book, Harishwari Prabhu's book on the Transcendental Deity. And in that book, I think one wonderful thing that Harishwari Prabhu does is he's narrating the incidents that happened in those 1.5 to 2 years in quite a systematic depth. Literally as the actions were happening, okay, Prabhupada got up here, did this, did that. Here are all the important things that happened, the important letters that he wrote at that time, and the interactions he had with his different devotees who were present physically, and he was instructing. Right? What was fascinating for me is to see the mind and the thinking and the actions of a Mahabhagavata. Right? We see here in the Shastras, like in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, right? as stated in the previous, Dharmam Bhagavatam, real religious principles, or Bhagavata Dharma, the principles that are described in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, right? Or in the Bhagavad Gita. We also see that the actions of a Bhagavata devotee are also equally powerful as reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So we see there, while Srila Prabhupada was physically present and he was constantly guiding his disciples, there are many disciples who actually had quite serious fall downs. Right? There were, especially in the year 76, at one point I think there were about 6 or 7 sannyasis that fell in the same year. And Srila Prabhupada said that he wants to stop giving sannyas to his disciples. And he said, okay, there are some people are there, let them practice, let them follow, but I want to stop giving more. There were more applications that were still coming in. Prabhupada, I want to take sannyas and all that. So then actually, that actually helps us reflect a little bit on this verse. This process is so simple. And the Guru is present right there to guide you immediately on what to do, what not to do. Why is it that we are not able to follow the process? Right? What is it that is preventing us, from getting the effect of this process? What is it that is coming in the way of our practicing it? Right? Anybody has any thoughts? Sorry? Material desires. Material desires could be one of it. Pride. Right? That's one of it. What else? Ego. False ego in what sense? No, they were not gurus at that point. They were all just sannyasis only. This was Prabhupada was physically present. So some false pride in that that you are a sannyasi and all that. What else? Any other idea? Karma. It's an interesting thing you do bring up that, sometimes we see that your starting point, right, could be helpful or harmful for your devotional life. But the reality is that this is one of the easiest ones to overcome. If you go look at our own lives, many of us, we do not have any karma associated with being able to take this process of chanting Hare Krishna. Right? If you look at the trajectory of what we were before we became devotees and now, you'll see that, doesn't seem to, like, now if somebody came and said this person does this, this and this, and he said, oh, bad karma case. Let them, make them chant somehow, maybe that will change, that's how we will say. It could be a factor, but it is a very limited factor. Any other thoughts? They got it very easily. Doesn't know how to make it. Too soon. No, actually, all of these points that you bring up are factors. But I think we should study this a little bit more deeply, in a little bit more systematic way. Because from that study, we can plan for ourselves, or we should become cautious for ourselves how to follow this process simply, right? This morning also, when we were reading the Nama Amrita, when hearing from Madhupandit Prabhu, if you remember, he said the process is very simple, right? That doesn't mean that it is easy to, to practice. I mean, literally the process is only one simple process. Just chant Hare Krishna. What else should we do when we are chanting Hare Krishna? Hear attentively. Right? And that is where the problem comes about, right? Chanting and hearing. Such a simple process. But there are also some fundamental things that we should do, that Srila Prabhupada has given, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given. But what are the things that will come in the path of this chanting of the holy name taking effect? Right? And we'll spend some time talking about it. What we'll do is we'll do like a 10-minute discussion amongst teams. I'll just make 3 teams. And then after that, we'll wrap up in the next 10-15 minutes and the concepts that we're getting out of the different devotees. So just let's go just 1, 2, 3 only, because there are a few of us here. You can go. 1. He is 1, okay. Okay. So the 1s can come here, I guess, and 2 here, and then 3s can be at the back over there. So what are we supposed to do? The 1s we'll discuss in the practice of this chanting the holy name, right? You can actually have different moods in different ways you practice, and different modes of nature in which you can practice chanting the holy name. And that can cause some impediments in your practice, and what you should watch out for. So we can say group 1 will say in full sattva guna, let's say shuddha sattva, right? How do you practice the things? Because this will be the team that will say, okay, these are the things we should do, kind of a thing, right? And let's see what they identify. Team 2 is rajoguna. Like, what are the, like somebody said, for material desires. I'm just giving a hint there. What are the rajasic things that can come in the way of our chanting the holy name? And believe it or not, there are also tamasic ways of chanting the holy names. Right? And, let's hear. And when you're thinking through this, also think about, think about it so that when we all discuss as a thing, we can say, obviously the rajasic and tamasic things are what you should not do. And we can also talk a little bit about how do we go up the ladder. Okay? So team 1 or group 1, please come here. We'll give you about 7 minutes. 7, 6. Wait, actually you can give you 10 minutes. 7:15. Yeah, 7 minutes we can take. Up to 7:16. How come group 1 is so small? Everybody forgot their numbers or what? Seriously, it's not possible at all. Number 3 should be less number of people because one person was less in 3. It's impossible. Okay, Mataji, you joined just now, I think. But how can ones be less? Okay, then you please come over here. Yeah. Okay, come on. Yes, one of you can join here. How many of you? 3 plus 3, 6. Sukada, come over here. And then you became less now. Huh? By the time we figure out your numbers, only the time will go. You got 6 minutes left now. Please discuss quickly. For the Sattvaguna team, think of the like top 4 things, or maybe 5 at the most, in the order of importance. Okay, time is up. Okay, Sugata, can you get this thing, please? We'll start with the third group first. The things we should not do in tamasic chanting. Let's call it chanting in tamoguna rather than calling it tamasic. Chanting itself is always transcendental.
So we found a couple of points. One
Okay.
is
Hare Krishna. Let's listen to that group. Yes.
so I think one is the mood in which you are chanting, like okay, casually sleeping, lying down, and just chanting okay, Hare Krishna, something. It's like not being in proper mood, or that is one point. And also the other one is you're chanting for others, like say not for the benefits of others, but in a grudge mood, saying okay, maybe it could be something. It could be
Keep closer.
it could be some desiring some harm or something not fruitful for others. That with that desire, okay, I'll do one more round or something like that. Which
To
is,
harm somebody, eh?
not exactly harm, but
By the power of the
something.
holy name, I'll curse you.
That's something. Yeah, Krishna. So we didn't find more, but we tried. I think it looks like everybody is not in that, not to get that points.
But what do we call as the biggest impediment to chanting the holy name? What is the biggest impediment to chanting the holy name? Huh? No, thinking and all is okay. That's more of I would call it more rajoguna. But then when we think about this thing, huh? Somebody said something. Huh? Offenses. What is the worst offense? Yeah, mad elephant offense. Right? Mad elephant offense. What is that mad elephant offense? It's a mad elephant is entering a garden. It is mad. Doesn't even know what it is doing. It just by the movement itself, just by moving around, it will destroy the whole garden. Right? So, the offending a Vaishnava, also think about it. Sometimes, when some interaction happens and you're very agitated about it, you're thinking about it. Whole chanting time, that's all is coming up, right? He said like this. Why did this happen like that? We go on thinking. In chanting time also we go on thinking more and more about that. Not just chanting time, you're 24 hours you're in that meditating on that. Right? Doesn't it happen? The offense of offending a Vaishnava, right, destroys all the effects that are accumulated. In one sense, Prabhupada many places says, it doesn't really destroy, it pauses your devotional life. Right? It puts a full stop for the time being. And sometimes it might take 1 month, sometimes it takes maybe 2 months, sometimes 1 year, sometimes 5 years, sometimes 10 years before you come back to where you were. Sometimes not even this lifetime. Right? That is why one has to be very, very careful about this. I have personally seen devotees, they eventually end up leaving the association of devotees. I know invariably that will happen. We have thousands of reasons, but it is mainly driven by this, always. That's why I say keep life simple. Right? When you keep life simple, you have so many anarthas, so many problems. It is a complicated world. Things will happen. Kala will put together, especially Kali Yuga, complicated things will happen. Learn to Take the simplest path. Like, what is the solution for not creating offenses to Vaishnavas? What is the simple solution?
Honeybee approach.
Pratik, you say? Huh?
Honeybee approach.
Honeybee approach. Yes, that's also an approach. But if, let's say things do happen, then what? Huh? Tolerate to prevent things from happening, right? Honeybee and toleration will help you to prevent things from happening. Let's say, something happens also. Forgive and beg forgiveness. First thing, simple thing, I am sorry. Right? Kindly forgive any offenses knowingly or unknowingly committed. And take the stance of saying, I might be wrong. You may not even be wrong, but just say, I'm sorry. Do you lose anything? Let's say some interaction happens. Everybody knows when interaction was not good, right? Anybody here doesn't know when interaction is not good? We all know when interaction is not good. At that point, you may not have the consciousness to say at that point itself. At least remember after some time or next day, next week also it's okay. I remember next month also it's okay. Even if it is 5 years ago, even now it's okay. Go to the person and say, I am sorry if I offended you knowingly or unknowingly. Please forgive me if I have created any offenses. Simple. What does it take? What does it, just imagine. To say those words, I said it in like 15 seconds. 15 seconds you say that, you are absolved. Can you realize that? You are absolved of any more offenses in that matter. Don't take it as this thing, say do whatever you want, then go and say I'm sorry. But remember, it's such a simple process. Right? So, and also like you said, practicing devotional life or chanting with the thing of saying, I want to harm somebody or I want to, this enviousness. Doesn't it also happen? Envy means definitely tamasic. Right? You will be surprised. I have noticed this, it happens. Envy is very, very powerful when you're with your peers or with your own thing. Like say, for example, even with your own like brothers, sisters and things like that. Right? Because you're saying, we all grew up the same thing. We all this thing. How come suddenly this person is like this or that person is like this? And envy when it comes to devotional activities, devotional things, because ultimately we still live in social settings, right? There is so-called value given to, this person is having this position, they're running this thing, they're doing these things, all of us have to listen to this thing. So many of these things come in, right? So developing enviousness when it comes to that, and that keeping that envy in the root. I should read this, I should chant like this, I do this, because I should become this. It will destroy the devotional life. Right? Anything else? Anybody else wants to contribute to the team?
While reading books, Prabhuji,
Sleeping while reading books.
Reading books go to sleep. Reading books go to sleep.
Huh? Actually, being totally inattentive while chanting, right? Like, internet chanting, browsing chanting, right? And Facebook chanting maybe, right? Because you see, we are so addicted to this dopamine on this, the dopamine that comes from it. The dopamine will keep you awake, and let me or some completely inattentive chanting. Right? Now, there is a debate whether completely inattentive chanting, because you see, there is no, you are neglecting to do some things, but there is no malice or envy or specific this thing, because tamasic ones, I would call it more as like more rajasic maybe. We can get closer to tamasic, but tamasic is mainly there is envy associated, there is offense associated, there is this. You are putting a full stop to the effect of all the good things you did over a long time. Okay, let's do the second thing.
completing the rounds in a rush mode instead of instead of doing a quality chanting, right? And then doing chanting for the fruity results. So these are two, and one is inattentive chanting, like thinking of something and planning something else while doing the chanting. So that's and chanting for doing the show off, like as I'm doing chanting like in front of others, those kind of things are coming as a mode of passion we get into it.
4:45 alarm rings, show off for the Bhagavatam, this thing, and then go back. No, Rajasic also, like when you do it for show off, right, for a result. Rajoguna, Rajasic thing is always some result associated thing, right? You want to get something out of it. Madhupadu Prabhu said one beautiful one. You see, use chanting as a tools to get what you want. Right? Instead of serving the holy name, instead of serving the Lord, many times, right, I want something from the holy name. Oh, chanting will improve my concentration, and I will do chanting for that. Right? And then chanting time is a little peaceful, so doing all your planning, thinking, this thing, that thing, all the time during a chanting time. Right? These are all things, having an expectation that you'll get something out of it. Our mood should be, how do we serve the holy name? Right? It's not that, I'll get this, chanting is the most powerful way it's the most, punya activity, highest punya activity by default. Right? That's not why we chant, but it is a default. So then I can improve my material situation. I can be peaceful. I can make a lot of money so I can retire early. You can retire early even now. You don't have to make money to retire early. It's just in the consciousness. Right? These are all things that become an impediment. What happens is, you're doing for something, and then that goes on and on and on. And invariably, it will be inattentive chanting. Invariably. When you have all these things, that becomes the primary goal. Consciousness is locked on that. Inattentive chanting happens, and that effect is slowed down. Right? It will take a long time. Or you may end up becoming a demigod, becoming something, this thing, or getting powerful position, having a lot of money and this thing, and getting deviated. What is the use of all of that? Right? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Follow the regulatory principles as like a foundation. This is the first one. And obey spiritual master instructions. And regulatory principle also part of it, but all of those. And then chanting clearly and hearing the sound vibration. Do it in the Brahma Muhurta time. It's a time. Humility, tolerance, and respect. And pray in a prayerful mode, and Brahma Muhurta, those come at the same time. So those are the ones.
Yeah. Sikshashtaka, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's words should come first when you think about that, right? Taro, what is that? Tunadapi sunichena, tarorapi saishnuna, amanina manadina, kirtaniya sadahari. Unless you practice this, you cannot do kirtaniya sadahari. Some devotee brought up, right? Santosh brought up about karma thing and all that. However offensive, however, difficult, whatever bad quality chanting you're doing, at least sometimes what happens, even hearing also we're not able to practice. But if we have this thinking about some level of tolerance and humility, right? Not expecting respect and all that, at least you'll continue the process. You give time. This holy name is so powerful. Even the Jagai and Madai's hearts got transformed. We are also having so many things. You will see, the main thing is to somehow continue doing it. Don't give up. Don't give up association of devotees. Right? Have that prayerful mode. And say, struggle. Keep struggling. Right? And then you will see that the holy name will help. The spiritual master will help. Devotees will help. And we can make advancement. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Ready for Darshanarthi? So, the process is simple. but we have to really remember what are the impediments in this process, what comes in the way, what helps us become, fixed up in all of this. And hear the holy name, right? Chant and hear, and this will bring about big transformation in our hearts. Okay. Is something else to add?
Mad elephant is Vaishnava Parada or anything else also? It's just
Vaishnava aparadha is considered as a mad elephant offense.
okay. Hare Krishna.
Offending other Vaishnavas. In fact, associated with all of that is many of this, like enviousness and all this. That should be in a consciousness for you to offend in the first place, right? Not having humility. It's the exact opposite of the six Ashtaka verse.
And one more, Prabhu, like you said initially when we were reading the verse, is that cause for the falling down of the devotees in that year. So what is the actual reason?
A combination of a lot of these factors, right? Some people took to sannyas, as a in this thing. Oh, everybody is taking sannyas. I'll also take sannyas because it's a very powerful position. Sannyasi means everybody has to bow down to them, and sannyasis were given important responsibilities. Everybody has to respect them and all that. What guna is that?
Basically, Rajoguna.
For rajasic reasons, you're taking it up, right? And then sometimes, they did not follow the instructions properly, right? They did not let, the challenges of name, fame, all of this associated with it to come to this thing. That's why, these positions of authority and all that, these things are very, very, very dangerous. Sometimes it can pull you down.
Yeah.
That's why one should be very careful about hankering for these things.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Granthrachimad Bhagavad